Okay, man.
All right. It's all of you can go ahead and show us. 6:30. Let's go ahead and get started. So I'd like to welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us for our city council meeting. This one's going to be a little bit busy. We did have to cancel the last one, but we put everything together. I think the team did a great job, so we can go ahead and move through it really well. And hopefully we don't spend the whole evening in here and try to take care of that. Okay, the first thing we need to do is item number 2. So Paula, can you go ahead and do the roll call? Yes.
District 2, Alderman Sanchez. District 1, Joseph Mora.
Present.
District 2, David Emery.
Here.
District 4, Michael Rodriguez.
Here.
District 5, Josie.
Oh, there he is, right there.
He's here.
There you go. All good. Really appreciate it. Okay, if everybody can go ahead and please join me and stand. Do a pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Okay, before we actually get started, we open it up for our citizens to be heard. Just a reminder for all of council, based on new policy guidance on here for our meetings, it does include on us for not being able to use our cell phones while we're in session, unless the actual council asks a council member to go ahead and research something. Okay, we're going to jump into citizens to be heard. Before I do that, I do want to take the time. One of our employees actually asked if we could please read this card to the council. If y'all know, Wayne lost his mom here in the past, and we actually made a donation on behalf of the whole council. And he wrote a little thank you card, and he said, and this is Wayne and Judy. The flower plant that you sent from my mother's service was really nice. We have it in our new at our home now. A reminder of your kindness and support during our time of grief on my mother's passing. We appreciate your support. Vital is a great place to live and work. Thank you, Wayne and Judy. So on behalf of one of our employees, and his family, just want to thank us for being there during a difficult time in their lives. Okay, so let's go ahead and open it up for citizens' comments. Anybody? Come on up, ma'am. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us where you live and the address so we can go ahead and annotate that.
Okay, no problem. I'm gonna set my timer too, because I know I can go over.
That's 3 minutes, yes, ma'am.
My name is Cheryl Kennedy. My husband and I live at 18841 Pine Street here in Lytle, a little dead-end street that everybody turns around in my driveway, right across the railroad tracks. I've been working on a project for the last 6-7 months. I was hoping to have it to you this spring, and then I had some medical things come up. There's been a situation that has cropped up, and it's nothing that anybody's really done. It's just over time, the town has grown and things haven't changed. So to give you some background, what I'm going to give you guys, I'm not going to give you right now because it's way too much. You'll have to read it and look it over, and I'll give it to
Well, you can
Matt.
give it to us.
Yeah, I'll give it to her, and she can pass them out to you later. I have a background in doing projects, and when I see something happening, and there's a way to mitigate that, to get in and work on that project. Everything from work related all the way up to federal FEMA projects. So I've been that gamut, and so I just kind of tend to jump in on that. What kind of triggered me was for several years, as towns kind of closed in around us there on Pine Street, and more people kind of moved in that haven't lived there for a long time, we've had a lot more animal dumpings, and as well as dogs running loose. I've mitigated that. I'm happy to meet with my neighbors, and I've mitigated that and made contacts with them when the dog would be out, catch a dog, call animal control to come pick up the dog if I didn't know who it belonged to. In the last, I want to say last year, we've had multiples coming at one time over a short period of time. Some of those animals have started killing other animals, including some owned sheep. They didn't kill them because they got caught, but they seriously injured some sheep that were being raised for profit. So I was frustrated, and I'm down to my time frame here. So what I did is I went to Santiago and I said, okay, what do we need to do to fix this? Can I file charges? Because the people weren't taking it serious. There was no way to file charges because all that Lionel had was a dog at large that was a $20, $25 fine. I don't remember what that was. Anyway, so that set me up. I then got with Santiago and Betty Kroger, who used to run the facility, and we sat down and I showed them what I wanted to do. So what you're going to get is a compilation, and it is a very in-depth ordinances. The only thing that I forgot to put in here was the recent chain law. So I think everything else is in here. I don't have sections on it. I don't have some things. I have some CRS code from the state. With 600 new homes coming in, it's going to explode on us. And COVID has not done any favors to any of the animal facilities across the state. It's just, they're in overload right now. So we can get back to where we were because Lytle and all the surrounding areas actually were doing very, very well.
Yeah, 30 seconds, man.
So I'm going to pass these out. If you have any questions, I can send the electronic form on it because it's a very rough draft. And if you have any questions, after you read the overview and that, please give me a call, send me an email. I'm retired now, so I got lots of time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you for your
ma'am.
time.
Thank you. Thank you. We definitely will look into that. We appreciate it. Awesome. All right. Any other citizen comments? Yes, sir.
How's it going?
Good, good, sir. Please introduce yourself and your address in City Light.
So my name is Charles Valdez. Sadly, I do not live here in Lionel. I'm with Frontier Waste. I've been talking with my wife about moving here. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I just want to let y'all know that you do have options for trash. I've already turned in our price for municipal trash. And if y'all have any questions or concerns, or if you'd like to talk further, I left my card, my number, and yeah. All right.
I appreciate it.
Thank y'all so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thanks, Charles. All right. Any other comments? All right. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Let's go ahead and council, let's go ahead and move on to number 5, consent agenda. This is where we consider, A, consider the approval of the minutes, and B, consider the approval of the payment of the bills.
We consider spelling the grammar changes, it's changed.
You can just let her
Uh,
know. This is more about the content.
Mayor, I'd like to start with a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Got a motion on the floor for us to go ahead and approve the consent agenda that includes both the minutes and the bills.
I'll second that.
Okay, I got a second on the floor. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, item number 6 is where we get into the open session, take action on items discussed. The first one that we have is 8. Consider and act upon the traffic impact analysis TIA ordinance professional service agreement with Kimberly Horn and Associates. Matt, is there anything you wanted to lead the council?
So y'all should have a briefing packet as well as their presentation, and they're here tonight to talk and answer any questions you have. This is the firm that we selected to use. They've now sent back the pricing. Cost to do it in 7 phases, I believe, right? Or
Phases?
yeah, sections or however you call them.
Oh, yes.
Well,
Sorry,
so-
the proposal program.
Yeah, total cost was 22,000. In talking to Lynette, that was not something we had budgeted for, but she says there is money there. So on the fiscal impact, we could take that money out of the pool cash, which would come from those ARP funds that we're set to receive another stipend for if we so approved.
Do you wanna-
Hello. I'll keep it short and sweet since I know we've gone through the TIA before, but just to refresh everyone's memory. So traffic impact analysis is an opportunity for developments as they come in, whether they're new or redevelopment, to evaluate their transportation impact and for you all to have a say on what that looks like and what they're going to be required to do. So this TIA ordinance will outline those requirements. So any questions you have on the proposal, I can answer those as well.
Alright. And please, did you get a chance to, for
And
the whole council?
he can introduce himself. So Chris is with me. He works on our team as well.
Hi, I'm Chris Theron, work with Kinley Horn, with Devin. I think she summed it up pretty well, just to say that it's a way to understand how it impacts the area when you bring in new development, or like you said, even redevelopment, understanding what its role will be to kind of mitigate delay and other infrastructure challenges in the area when they develop.
Thanks, I just want to make sure folks knew who Chris was.
And I will add, so onto the fees, so 22,000 total. The last 5,000 is an hourly, so if you need it and you use it, that's pretty much to help you through when you get to that first TIA, if you're kind of like, what do we do with it? It's kind of to help you through that. So base fee 16,000 and then additional 5,000 will be charged hourly if you need it.
They're considering that having this TIA will probably save the city considerable money in the future. I move that we approve this action item.
A motion on the floor for us to go ahead and approve. Sam, got a second? Okay. Any further discussion?
Devin, how is this gonna affect subdivisions that are already platted?
You can't go back and require them to do it now, so if they ever go to replat, you can require it at the replat, so the ordinance will outline when you can require it, so anyone that is, what we'll have to decide as we're developing the ordinance is when it's gonna take place, so when you wanna make the official adoption, and then if you wanna set any grandfathering process, so that'll be up to you to decide if you wanna say, if they're this far along, have already been platted, will no longer require it, but typically you have to do it before the plat or building permit's been approved.
And this just applies to city streets, right?
No, this is all streets as well. So TxDOT's very familiar with working with other municipalities, City of San Antonio, Bernie, New Braunfels, all these municipalities have requirements, and TxDOT is open to other people improving their roads when they don't have to front the money. So they will definitely allow improvements. You'll have to get them approved by them as well, but they won't turn anything down for the most part, as long as it aligns with their ultimate goal plan.
Devin, did you mention how long you expect this to take?
So we said probably maximum 8 weeks, and that includes the adoption process, so when we can get on that next council. So really, we'd like to have a draft back to y'all within 5 to 6 weeks, and then get it on the next council.
The sooner the better.
Yes, the development's coming quick, so.
You get that, Chris?
Yes.
Okay.
I took notes sooner rather than later.
Definitely. It's just, just like Charles was mentioning with the different things that are going on, we definitely want to get ahead of it. use that tool to be able to help us out.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Look forward to working with you. All right. Okay, D, consider and act upon the resolution authorizing and approving publication of notice of intent to issue city obligation tax and limited pledge revenue certificates of obligation, series 2022, in a maximum aggregate principal amount not to exceed $8,500,000 and providing for an effective date. All right.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I'm Andrew Friedman with Samco Capital Markets. This is Jack McCliney, here to discuss, for your consideration, the notice of intention resolution to proceed with this $8.5 million CO. Been in the planning process of this for a number of months. I know we've visited as a council together, especially back when we were considering the refunding bond that we did earlier in the spring. This, and what we've handed out, is a timeline to proceed through this issuance. It's been a number of years since the city borrowed a certificate of obligation. The process to borrow and finance through a CO starts with your action tonight. This is the first legal step to issue COs. The notice of intention resolution that's before you all outlines a not to exceed amount that the city intends to borrow, in this case $8.5 million. It outlines generally the project so that we're financing street improvements, we're financing utility system improvements. It legally restricts the use of those funds. So you or a future city council couldn't say, well, we've got $2 million left over, we're going to go build a new city hall. So it outlines what the use of the funds will be, the amortization for this being a maximum of 20 years, and it sets the date for the council meeting that you will consider the sale of these COs, which in this case is September 12th. With your approval this evening, that notice will go on the city's website, and it will go in the paper of general circulation here in the city for 2 consecutive weeks to inform citizens that this is taking place, aside from your action this evening. 46 days after the publication is made, the city council is in a position to entertain bids on these certificates of obligation, and so that's why we scheduled this sale for September 12th. So you're not committing to issuing these COs at this juncture right now. That will come in September, but this is the process to get that started so that we can begin putting together the offering document and get ready to go to the public markets in September. From here, with your approval, again, it'll get posted in the paper and on the website. We'll begin putting together an offering document. We'll go to Standard & Poor's rating house for a bond rating to get that in place in advance of the sale, as well as bond insurers and everything to bring this about by September 12th. You'll recall this is $7.5 million for utility system improvements, and then just under $1 million for street and sidewalk improvements. The utility system is going to pay for the $7.5 million. The city's general fund and interest and sinking portion of your tax rate will pay for the street and sidewalk, so that we're got the beneficiary of each project is paying for its responsibility rather than it being on the taxpayers when it's really a utility system improvement, et cetera. So we're able to fund both of these projects within a single CO. You get some economies of scale. So you're not doing 2 financings. We're doing a single financing, and then internally we'll be able to separate the debt service for each of those for the responsible fund. So we get the economies of scale there. Assuming we get good interest rates, we're back on September 12th for your final approval at that time. You'll know exactly what the interest rates are, what that debt service is, and whether or not we've hit the targets that we've been working with Lynette and Matt over the past several months to determine, so that we know that we've got the financial wherewithal to take on this financing. At that time, you'll be asked to either approve or deny the sale of these certificates of obligation. Assuming it all proceeds, money will be delivered September 20th. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. You've got Lauren Ferrero, your bond attorney, here as well for any of the legalese as you read through the notice of intention resolution and any questions that might bring up. And Matt, if I've left anything out, I'm happy to answer any questions or go into more detail.
Beth, do we have this to the newspaper already? The notice?
No, we're taking care of that on the city's behalf.
Oh, okay, yeah, because it comes out on Wednesday, so, yeah, I just want to make sure, if we're shooting for this Thursday,
Yeah, the Hondo and Volvo.
No, it's the Divine.
Divine News.
Divine. Yeah,
We'll get you their contact
Yeah,
info.
we probably need to give them a call. They'll put it in there, but we need
We
to
get
call
to
it
As
first
soon
thing
as
in the
tomorrow, if
morning.
this gets approved tonight, it goes to them
Yeah.
in the morning.
Make sure that we can meet your timeline. It's a weekly paper and it comes out on Wednesdays. And we usually want to get everything to them by noon on Tuesday, the latest, but give a call in the morning.
That won't be a problem. I'll take care of it.
Awesome. Council?
And what interest rate are we looking at?
Right now, I'm gonna estimate high and say 4%. We've been in a rising rate environment. By the way, I'm glad that we did that refunding back when we did. Interest rates have gone much higher since then. We're still within the assumptions within our analysis. We've seen interest rates coming down a little bit over the last couple of weeks. We've run this, I think, at 3.75%, so I'm very comfortable that we're within those thresholds to meet the analysis we're looking at.
Is there a no-go point on interest rate?
It's kind of it's a harder question. I guess there's a threshold. If they go up, 200 basis points between now and September, I think we'd all need to take a long, hard look in the mirror about whether or not this is the appropriate time to proceed with the financing. But given the growth that we have coming, and we've got plenty of ability to structure this bond issue, if interest rates were to go up a little bit, and we'll do this in consultation with staff, defer principal a little bit if we needed to try to hit an annual debt service target the first couple of years. I just don't anticipate that being an issue. But then again, the Federal Reserve will be the last week in July, and depending upon how much they raise their Fed funds rate and how much the market has priced that in and what that reaction is, we'll see where interest rates go. But my expectation is that we should be about on target.
Mayor, I move that we authorize a notice of intention resolution to issue combination tax and limited pledge revenue certificates of obligation series 2022, and authorize Samco Bond Council and city officials to proceed with the issuance process.
Got a motion on the floor? Got a second? Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you for all your work.
Get to work.
Really appreciate it. Please say hi to Mark for me.
We certainly will.
Appreciate it on behalf of all of us. Thank you. All right. C, consider and act upon a proposal from TRC for plat review for Lidle LD corner 1480 block Main Street.
So this is a developer that's purchased a piece of property. They're going to develop it into a commercial lease space. It's that kind of rectangle piece of property sits across from St. Andrews, the private drive that runs next to Purdy Funeral Home. On the right, that's that piece of property right there. So TRC's estimated 3,500, I believe it was on there, to do the review. That's just the wash. Council has to approve it, pay them, and then we recoup that from the developer before releasing the final plat.
Is that the property next door to the?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The two hard paper house?
Yes, sir.
Area.
The house won't go away.
Right.
It's been here since we did.
That's the way it looks.
Mayor, I make a motion to accept TRC proposal for plat review for Lyle LB Comer, not to exceed the amount of 3,500.
We got a motion on the floor?
Second it.
Got a second? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, appreciate that. Okay, D, consider and act upon a request from D&D contractors for a water meter and a fire hydrant for construction of Sour Ridge Estates Phase 2 and 5. Come on up.
Pretty much what he said, I'm here to request the issuance of a water meter so we can proceed with our construction. Of course, you go for water review construction, you have to have water to getting your right densities, compaction on the soil and the road base and go to that stage. So, appreciate it.
James, thumbs up? Thumbs up? Okay, we got a thumbs up from James. Make sure we say, it's just a normal thing, just like we've done in the past too, but now they're going to be located in a different section. So that we're going to be able to give them the opportunity to use a different source of water to be able to do that. So council?
I'll make the motion to
For the request of the PAD contractor for water meter on High Bank for construction of the Saddle Ridge Stage 2 and 5.
Got a motion on the floor?
That's a second one.
Got a second? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, there you go, sir. Thank you so much. All right, E, consider an act upon the increase to the hourly security rate for the Lido Community Center.
I'm gonna present, Chief would have been here, but he's kind of filled into the weather. Y'all all got the agenda item there, as well as the chief's background on it. They've been charging $30 an hour for security, and it's harder and harder to get officers to come in on their day off to work at it, $30 an hour, unfortunately. So he's asking that the rate be increased to 40? Yes, $40 an hour. So that's just something that when a person rents it, they pay that fee, it's nothing the city pays, it's just part of hiring an officer to work.
Is that in line with, other
That's in line
cities?
with what every other city's charging, that's why we've gone up on our rates.
I move that we, approve it. Oh, I'm sorry, somebody else got it?
Sam?
Where, are we gonna set it at $40?
You want more?
I don't know, is Chief want more? Is he happy with 40?
Chief put on your board.
No, I was just curious that you didn't have a dollar amount set to that.
At 40, correct?
Yeah, that's what the, what Richard was proposing.
Okay, so I got a motion on the floor for us to go ahead and do it on 40?
Second.
Second. Okay, we got a second. Everybody jump in on it. Okay, we got a second. Further discussion on this?
Yes, I have a concern about having to have a police officer there when there's no alcohol being served at a function. I think the additional, let's say, I mean, you're there for a couple hours or 3 hours, that's extra $120, but that a person has to pay out just for, let's say, they can have I don't know, a shower or something like that. And not serving alcohol, that's an extra $120.
Isn't it based on how many people are gonna do it?
Yeah, it's based on people, and the council changed everything to, if you rent it, you have to have an officer there.
Not only that, if he's having trouble getting officers to accept these assignments, I think not having to have an officer there during non-alcoholic events, I mean, that right there will take care of half the problem.
Well, but you still have the trouble when you do have an alcoholic event, not getting officers, or, have an alcohol, still keeping it at 30, have a hard time getting the officers to show up then.
Well, that's what I'm saying, by not serving alcohol, there shouldn't have to be presence of an officer.
That's something the council adjusted a number of years ago, that said if you're gonna rent a city facility, you're gonna have an officer there to not only, provide security, but to also look after the city's facilities, so.
But it used to not be that way. And then suddenly we started having that. I'm talking about the average citizen that's just gonna get it for a couple of hours.
I
That's an
understand.
added cost right there.
I understand.
And
It's
then
just-
not only that, is it my understanding that an officer needs to be there 30 minutes prior and 30 minutes after?
Yes.
But there's another $40 right there. So I'm just speaking out because I don't think that's fair for a citizen that just wants to have a private function with family and then having to have a police officer. That's an added expense.
So,
That's something we can add as an agenda item if we choose. Tonight's just.
So we wouldn't be able
So
to.
that's- yeah.
We could discuss that tonight.
so let's go ahead and put it on an agenda item,
Okay.
and so we can bring it in front of the council in the future. But tonight, what we actually have is, based on what we currently have as a policy, so we need to go ahead and just take a look at the price, or the charge that we actually have. It's a good point, just, we need to put it in a separate agenda item to be able to do this. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, thank you so much, appreciate that. Take care, sir, have a good one. All right. Consider an act upon the next steps for retaining city attorney.
So we're at that point, we need to do something, based on the fact that this is a professional service, and we've been working with this new firm for a while. They've got a conglomerate of attorneys that specialize in a variety of things for us. It would be my recommendation that in lieu of going out RFPs or RFQs or anything, that we just hire them full-time as our city attorneys. The staff is used to working with them. We've got a good working relationship with them so far. And I don't see a need to switch it right now.
No, they have been in a sense of just being able to take care of a little bit of everything that we have gone through. So it's been good.
Do you want to keep working with us?
We'd love to continue working for the city. We have no problem at all if the council would like to go ahead and proceed with an RFP for that service. We often recommend it to our city to do that because we're not worried about the competition. We feel confident we will be favorably evaluated in the city's proposal. So we have plenty of examples of RFPs to prepare for the city that would like to issue the RFP. But as Matt explained, it is an exception to the RFP process. You're not required to do it. So it's at the council's discretion if they would like to go ahead and just retain the firm as their city attorney, continue on, or they go ahead and proceed with the status quo, or as an interim, or.
I just want to make sure that you guys liked us as much as we.
Oh no, we very much enjoyed working with Michael. It's been a great pleasure working with mayor and staff.
I make a motion that we keep Davidson, I'm gonna miss his name, but Raymond Garza, PC, as our city attorney. Got a motion on the floor?
Second.
We got a second. Okay, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Thank you so much, appreciate that, council. And congrats, please pass it on to the rest of the folks we look forward to it, especially with some of the things that we're dealing with. All right, let's move on. G, consider an act upon the ordinance of the city of Lido approving an agreement with Texas Department of Transportation providing for maintenance of certain state highways and or portions of state highways located in the city of Lido, Atascosa, Bear, Medina County, Texas, authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement, incorporating residuals, including repealer, and setting an effective date.
So council, if you recall, this is something that came up a while back where Texas is trying to update all their agreements. Our current agreement dates back to April 14th, 1970. So Texas just trying to go across the board and get new agreements signed with all the cities. I'll turn it over to legal. He's reviewed this. He can kind of explain to you what a lot of this means.
Basically, what this agreement does is under the transportation code, cities are responsible for general maintenance and operation of city streets within the city limits. With the exception being state roads. And so TxDOT maintains those. So within the city limits, you have overlapping jurisdictions where you have the state road and then you have city streets. So this agreement just delineates responsibilities between what the state is going to do and what the city does. And so it just lays it out. It's very similar to the existing agreement that the cities had in place since 1970, which is some minor updates, but it's pretty straightforward. So and it helps alleviate any concerns of whether the agreement's outdated. It's that current one.
And a lot of it, correct me if I'm wrong, it's allowing us to be able to mow grass, stuff like that, when we're ready to go do it. We don't have to wait for Texas to come in and do it before we keep our city looking nice. And as far as pavement, you can't really see it on your map because it's not in color, but TxDOT's going to continue to maintain the pavement on 35, 31, 35, all the state roads. It's not like we're taking that over and we've got to now come in and maintain that pavement. TxDOT's still doing the heavy lifting. It's just, we're able to go in and mow grass and stuff like that, pick up trash.
Signage, all of those basically.
So question for you, and this would be on page 4 of 6 on the new agreement.
Okay.
So the first one is like number 4, assistance, snow and ice control to supplement city resources when requested. How about if the city doesn't have any?
Well, then they would probably do it entirely. That's what they do now. And it's pretty infrequent. Usually what TxDOT does is they have an erected, we would work it out with the city in terms of what what the city would be doing in the way of any kind of ice treatment or ice, when, in those events. And to the extent the city doesn't have any ability, or is not doing anything, then TxDOT would see within their priority, how does it fit into the roadway access? So they would manage it that way.
Yeah, we've had a few, last few years,
And
So we just have to call them and say, we don't have the resources to do that, we want you to do it. And then just fall in, like I said, to their priority, where we fall into state's priority. That's the only bad thing if we don't do it ourselves.
Whose expense? Whose expense?
TxDOT's. If TxDOT's doing it, it's their expense.
So that's not having that capability?
If we got it and we want to do it, TxDOT will let us do it. If not, we just have to wait upon TxDOT when they get to us.
That's only for the state roads, not.
State roads, yeah, state roads.
Yeah, just the state roads. So their main priority, council, is basically gonna be I-35 and along the frontage roads. That's their number one priority, and then after that, they start going out to the 2790s and the 3175s and stuff like that. But I just wanted to make sure, based on the wording, supplementing.
Right, it doesn't obligate the city to take it on, it just, to the extent that you have it, it does
But
something.
to be able to prove that we have.
Yeah, well, some cities may go ahead and do it because it's also probably a major road within the city. And so this is where, again, they have some of the overlapping jurisdictions. So some cities have that ability, they may want to go ahead and do some treatments or text out and supplement that work. But if we don't have any, then it's gonna just fit into text out.
Awesome.
Jesse, on that same page, page 4, number 5, talks about drainage facilities. That second sentence says, this does not relieve the city of its responsibility for drainage of state highway facility within its corporate limits. Can you clarify that? Because we had a citizen complain about, right here at 132, about the tire shop, how the drainage culverts are clogged up. Are we gonna be responsible for that now?
It's the same as it would have been before, because often the drainage, the cities may locate drainage facilities within the state right of way. And so to the extent that these are city-related drainage improvements, then they'll continue to maintain those. So what TxDOT is saying is they're not assuming any of the city-related drainage improvements or any municipal-related drainage improvements in that area. So,
I mean, I think that drainage improvement probably went in 60 years ago, so it was a strict state drainage facility, right?
right, well, it depends, I don't know, it possibly could have been, but yes, I don't know.
James, those culverts we looked at, the state put them in, is that what they were saying? Is that what Christian was saying? That they were gonna do it? Is this gonna change that? I guess is my question, because when they came out and took a look at it, they said, we'll get to it. Because 3 out of 4 are clogged up. I'm just curious now, we go with this new agreement, are we gonna be required to go in there?
But I can tell you from experience on a drainage on 463, you know which one I'm talking about, right, Skip and James? So I know that one has been asked to be cleaned a few times just because of the possible flooding in that area. And it's based on their maintenance when they have the opportunity to come over. So sometimes you see some folks just trying to clean it up or trying to keep it cleaned in there to try to help out. So I know they tell us that it's on the schedule and it's part of their responsibility, but.
Schedule might go from year to year to year.
Well, taking a look at that thing, it's never been cleaned out in 50 years or so.
Had dirt build up over years.
Mr. Chopper, he had a video of, I guess, last May when we got all that rain and the water was up in his yard. So, I mean, that's 4 or 5 feet of water. And because it's not able to flow through there, I mean, a portion of that is our drainage facility.
Right.
But part of the problem, of course, is their portion of that facility.
Well, they're often interconnected, right? And so to the extent that the state system isn't working very well, it may affect the city's performance. But if you look at the old agreement on, it would be on, they similarly, it's, if anything, it's a bit clearer, the state is actually a little more active in the newer agreement than the old one. The old one, it has said that they assist the city in sweeping, blah, 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 goes on. And it says ditches and other sections, state highway routes where to the extent of duties are delineated in Exhibit A. So they're even, I think, a little less involved in some of the drainage ditch work. They're a little less acknowledged. The newer one, it's clear that they acknowledge that that there's certain city-related drainage improvements that the city's responsible for, and that they have their own. So the wording is a little bit better, I think, than the new one. The old one, they were just like, you kind of do just a little bit. To me, I felt a little better, that you're better off with the new one.
Yeah, it's numbered, it's on page 5 on the very top.
Number
That-
3.
The one, yeah, it's just a city, it just says the city.
So that exhibit B, where they have the table, that's the new agreement. Am I correct? Where it
Yes,
shows
it's a table of the new agreement, yes.
Yeah.
The old one just had a.
So, personally speaking, anything on Highway 132 within the city limits is going to be the city's responsibility.
Assist. Which is basically what the old agreement said. Is that correct, Jason?
What's that mean?
It's just basically what the old agreement said.
Yes, it's basically keeping the status quo. The language is, like I mentioned earlier, it's just been refined a little bit. I think they clarified just after a few decades of kind of working through the stuff. This is a form agreement for TxDOT, so they obviously use it statewide. So they ironed out some of the issues we referred to in the past.
What did Charles, what did they say in the conclusion of that discussion or what?
She said that it was there, because the whole reason for us going down there was because of that bridge, because of that one bridge. And of course, their assessment of it on the spot wasn't up to ADA standards, that for whatever reason, whenever it went in, it was done incorrectly. So, but they said they were gonna go in and extend those culverts to address it, but when that will be, who knows?
To lift it up.
To lift it up, so the sidewalk, it's not a bridge, it's just street level. So people aren't having to go down and then, to cross that drainage ditch. But looking at that problem, Mr. Chopper came out, he was talking with us and saying, well, this is clogged up. They said, well, we'll get to it in the fall. And I guess my concern is, well, they say they're gonna get to it. What happens if they never do? Because it's clogged up. I mean, it's bad.
So under this new agreement, we can go in and clean up, the city, if they want to do it, can go in and clean all that out, right? Otherwise, we can call the state and ask for assistance to clean out their own stuff and just wait for us to get on this check.
You would probably still need to get a permit from TxDOT to allow you to go into the site. It doesn't prevent the city from cleaning it out, if they wanted to. It was a priority, that's what the council wanted to do.
It's not saying it's going to be our responsibility, it's just saying if we want to, we can. Otherwise, we can just wait.
Well, I mean, I think, of course, the way we run the risk of people getting flooded out, because it's not just Mr. Chapo's lot, it's the Pecan Grove Apartments. The video was showing water going into their parking lot, and the rest of that, like headed towards HEB, is all backed up. So, I mean, that's kind of why we got that drainage utility fund, trying to get that going, and that's going to enable us to address some of those issues.
And Councilman, the city may propose to go ahead and do the work and then see TxDOT reimbursement for the clean out. That's another possibility, since they've acknowledged that it's their responsibility, they just haven't gotten back to
So this, there can be amended?
the form.
This particular table, exhibit B, that can be amended to TxDOT, excuse me, is responsible for the sidewalk in the city limits.
Just say that they are, the TxDOT responsible.
Instead of being an assist, they would be responsible. My concern is with all this new development, all these new businesses coming in, if we're currently seeing problems on 132, we're gonna continue to see more, and it's gonna become more of a problem in the future.
It may, Councilmember, but again, part of, much like the transportation impact analysis, the drainage is a civil requirement for the plat, and the plat review, they're not allowed to just, to dump water that would have otherwise been absorbed in the undeveloped property onto existing ditches and other, they're required to often detain and hold that water in ponds or ditches and the like before it goes in. So theoretically, it shouldn't create a lot of new flow, and that to the extent that it does.
Well, I'm talking about developing new structures and taking over what used to be this raw land.
Correct.
So
And-
that drainage has to go somewhere.
Well, they often require to hold it. They often require, because that's usually the issue with regard to, the abutting landowner is required to automatically assume all the discharge off. If there's two vacant tracts, the neighboring tract is required to accept all of the flow automatically. And so, yes, they're required often to hold it to a certain amount. So otherwise, what happens is the person at the very end gets flooded.
Right.
So that's usually why when you see a lot of the developments, they'll often have detention ponds. So the drainage impact, much like traffic and other utility impacts, are related to the planning and the engineering associated with a new subdivision development. So they're not allowed to just pave it over and then dump it if the water, stormwater, make it somebody else's problem. However, to the extent that it's not impossible, it requires just general upgrades, those go into the impact associated, like, okay, well, you want to build this project, it's gonna affect these primary drainage areas, they often will require to, improve and expand those facilities or develop it in a way, so that it minimizes the impact on further downstream land.
Well, thank you, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, that's,
I know we're kind of getting off topic here, but currently we don't have a stormwater impact fee.
correct.
We don't have a stormwater impact fee, and I know that we have, Matt's working on RFP for RFQ.
Yes,
for
RFQ.
a drainage, for engineering firm for, our drainage utility fund, because we need that drainage assessment before we can set that fee. I mean, is that something that other cities have, implemented as far as stormwater impact fees?
Yes.
And of course, again, everything that's been platted, it's not gonna be hit with that impact fee with any future development.
Well, to the extent they replat or they amend their plats, they would then be subject to it. So, and that does happen. But yes, to the extent it's, they're in phase one of a 10-phase project, and phase 1 through 3 already constructed, those are probably not gonna be affected by an impact fee. But all the subsequent phases, when they come in and amend or replat those areas for the additional phases, they would be subject to an impact. Or they could be if the ordinance were drafted that way, they usually are.
And I know that there's, at least for the water and the sewer impact fees, there was a time requirement right before we could start collecting those new fees. Is it the same deal with stormwater, that we have to wait a year or so before?
Yes, there is usually a notice and phase in on the phase in those fees, yes.
Same thing, the timeline, we got a few things in the fire right now, just trying to make the timeline.
So it's like I said, Mary, it's like we're getting off topic, but we're bringing up
Yeah.
important issues that, like Michael was saying, the drainage thing, kind of like talking about Hurricane Harvey, huh? And how all those subdivisions out in Houston, and I mean, at this point, I take a Hurricane Harvey, but I'm here. But being able to get the water out of town, because kind of like the problem that we have in Lakeshore right now, people went in, they cut corners, and now 20 years later, we're dealing with these issues. So to like prevent future problems and to address these drainage concerns, I think it's very important, especially the volume of homes that are coming out here. All roads.
Okay, council, I know we've had some good discussions in multiple areas. You have the information in front of you, you have an opportunity to go ahead and take a step forward.
So has the motion in there?
Not yet.
Yeah, make a motion to accept the ordinance of the city of Lido approving the agreement with the Texas Department of Transportation providing the maintenance of certain state highways and or portions of state highways located in the city of Lido, Atascosa, Bear, and Medina counties, Texas. Authorizing, I guess, the last word, authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement, incorporating recitals, including in the feeder and selling an effective date.
So this Okay, got a motion on the floor? Got a second? Okay, any further discussions? All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, thank you so much. And Matt, let's go ahead and add that to the text doc. Give him a call here in the next week.
We've got some forms, we'll get them together and get signatures.
Do the follow-up, go over the drainage stuff. Do the follow-up. Okay, H, consider and get direction regarding waste management agreement. I'm gonna turn it over to Matthew. I just want to let you know, Chris did, our point of contact, did text me and he apologizes for not being here. Apparently one of the little ones not feeling so good, so as a precaution, decided to go ahead and stay home. He just wanted to thank us for the opportunity.
So a couple options we have here. One is to just say we want to go out to RFPs, right? Let everybody bid it again. Or we can go and begin contract talks with Waste Management for a 1-year extension of our current contract. With everything that's going on right now, I have met with another company just to look at it, but with all the moving parts we have right now, with pending RFQs we need to write, with CFOs coming in, budgets, everything coming in, it would be my recommendation that you allow council and I to start the negotiations with Waste Management for a 1-year extension to see if there's any major hiccups or anything going on. We're working through some minor hiccups we've had the last few weeks, but that would be my recommendation to council, is I'll authorize the city attorney and myself to begin those contract talks for a 1-year extension.
May I make a motion for the city administrator and city attorney to begin contract talks with Waste Management for a possible 1-year extension?
Okay, got a second? Any further discussion?
I think that's very wise to do that. It's very good.
I definitely want to make sure we're getting the best bang for our buck, but there's a lot of moving parts in the city right now, and we need some time to settle some easier things. And unfortunately, that's one of them at this moment.
Further discussions? Nothing? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right. All right, consider an act upon adding a volunteer advisor to the Plan and Zoning Commission.
So this one, I'll speak again. Our current Planning and Zoning Commission, great group of guys. The problem is they're kind of like me when they hear it, but they don't have that expertise in it. I've checked our ordinances. They do call for specifics of people that serve on that board with the voting powers, but it does not mention anything about a volunteer, an advisor, or anything like that. So I believe, and the council can correct me if I'm wrong, that we could appoint a volunteer advisor, no voting privileges, no power whatsoever. Their job is to just help the committee understand what's being presented in real terms, not what Matt Deere thinks he understands it to be, or the developer that wants something passed, right? This is that third party that kind of is there for the city to say, hey, this is why it would be a good idea, this is why it wouldn't, and let them go from there. Currently, we have Mr. Brad Boyd that's expressed interest in serving in that position. So it'd be my recommendation that we appoint Brad Boyd as a advisory to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
There's no cost.
No cost, he does it for free.
That's fine.
And it gives us someone with some expertise on the board to help explain it when you have questions.
So we'll have, we need training in multiple areas. And this is one of the areas that we're gonna need to help out with our Planning and Zoning Commission. Between now and then, it's important that we actually have somebody, just like Matt said, that can be able to provide some terminology and understanding of what's going on until we get to that point. So he actually volunteered to be able to help us out for free, and it's on call. So it depends on the commission, being able to ask, hey, we need some help in this particular
Is there a consideration of how long he would serve in this position?
Not at this moment.
Having been on the zoning commission myself, I understand exactly. First meeting, here come plans, here come prices, and here come all this, and I'm like, okay, somebody tell me what's going on, and the person who's presenting it is the one who's telling you what it is. And it may or may not be exactly what he says it is.
They tell you all the pros to it, not
Well,
necessarily all the cons.
of course. So I think this is an excellent idea, and I certainly have no problem with Brad Boyd. So I move that we approve this voluntary advisory position and allow Brad Boyd to volunteer as he's expressed interest.
Second, any further discussion?
I know that Brad has a lot of things that he brings before the planning and zoning commission. Is he going to recuse himself when his own stuff is up?
He would have to, yes, sir.
What's the,
Yeah,
procedure for that as far as his own properties? I know that Brad is very particular about some things, so. As long as he'll do that, I'm
Sure.
Yeah.
fine with it. He's very knowledgeable.
We might look at reaching out to find another volunteer in the case where Brad, because of his involvement.
And if it's something that, you know, I believe causes a conflict there, by all means, I'll speak up, you know.
Yeah, because he's got, hasn't he got, do some buildings on his,
He's got some stuff moving that he may have to come before planning and zoning on, for sure. But of course, it's mine and Paula's job as well to be here with the interest of the city to express why we should or shouldn't do it as well.
So can we amend that to say Brad Boyd and seek out other volunteers?
If we have another one that wants to, I can bring them before the council as well.
Be the, Plan B?
He can advise on his own projects.
Yeah, it would be fine.
Yeah, I think what we get a chance to be able to manage that internally, but if you want to amend your motion.
Yeah,
then
let me amend that,
include a Plan
that,
B, a secondary person.
that we do approve Brad Boyd on a non-conflicting basis, and that we keep it open, or look for other volunteers to fill.
Got it? You want to amend it? Sure. Okay, got an amend on that one. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Mayor, just to clarify, that's approval of the amendment and the motion in whole, correct? Because there's two motions in one.
We're gonna do that. All right? All right, Jay, consider an act upon the city applying for membership of Sourcewell Competition Purchasing Program.
So currently the city, when we go out to buy stuff, if it's over 50,000, we have to go and get either 3 bids or use competitive bidding programs like HVAC or Buy Board. Both are organizations the city uses currently. When looking at a piece of machinery for James and theirs, this company bids through Sourcewell, which is just another company that bids competitively. So locally, I tried to see who was on it, and both Light Alliance D and Communal Real are members of this Sourcewell. So it just gives us a third option when we're hunting prices or hunting machinery to see which one's got the better competitive bidding price at this point. But in order to be to use it, we'd have to become a member. It's free. We just have to sign up and get a signature from the mayor.
There's other flexibility. Things to do.
I move that we apply for membership, Sourcewell Competitive Purchasing Program.
Okay, a motion on the floor for us to go ahead and consider that.
I'll go ahead and second.
Got a second? Okay, any further discussion on that?
How many other Buy Boards are out there?
I'm sure when I go to hunting, there's a whole bunch. But Sourcewell, from checking on them, they're a fairly large one. HVAC and Buy Board are the two biggest and the two that the city's always used.
I'm just thinking if it's free, it's like,
Why can't we
sign
sign
up
up
for
for all of them?
whatever, half a dozen?
I can look at some more and see who else is out there and who's gonna give us the best bang for our buck on which contract.
Any other comments? All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Awesome. And Madam Powell, thank you so much. The cover sheets on each one make a difference. Appreciate that. It works out really good in getting everything set up as notice we're going through this very quickly. So we really appreciate it and getting it out to us too.
Yeah, I'd like to comment on that too. They're very nice package. They're very informational. They're well organized. Thank you.
Good stuff, good stuff.
We can get rid of the blue line.
So-
No, that's something different.
In grading, there's a lot of papers, so if you want a hard copy, please tell us Friday next council meeting, so we'll produce a hard copy for you. Outside of that, we're gonna send it digitally and go from there if you're okay with that. But if you want a hard copy, just tell us so we can print them, because it is a lot of papers.
Okay, consider an act upon adopting an ordinance instituting a homestead exemption from taxation for all the residents of the city of Lytle in the amount of 20% of the appraised value of their homestead property, but not less than 5,000 as provided by the Texas Code Section 11.13. And Alderman Kate.
Thank you, Mayor. I've had pretty much every one of my constituents I've spoken to in the past 18 months complain about rising property values in the area. I think that it is something that everybody around the San Antonio is facing. You know, it's not just Lyle, it's every city, but in doing some research and ways to alleviate this burden on our residents, I found in the tax code that we as a city can offer up to 20% reduction in the taxable value on the home. And crunching some numbers, and I'm sure that Matt and Lynette will probably have more clarification as to what the rate will ultimately set at. You know, that coupled with increasing our water and sewer rates, it's not really, we're not gonna see a reduction in the money that we collect from real property. But at the same time, we're gonna help alleviate some of those costs for people who qualify. You know, the state law allows up to 20%, and Jesse might have a little more background as far as other cities that have adopted this. This has been a very popular tool for municipalities to implement, not just to help folks with that, but also to make the city a more attractive place to move to. Because if you're comparing Lytle with Castroville or Devon or Somerset, and we have that tax exemption, they're gonna buy a home out here. So we gotta help folks out. I mean, I know personally, Medina County, they went up on my market value $110,000 last year. Of course, with the homestead exemption, which, by the way, doing our research shows that you don't have, you don't have your homestead exemption on your house, so you might want to file that, because I think that they exceeded the 10% increase on this past year. And just, I know we got a lot, we offer a $10,000 reduction for those who are over 65, but for everyone else, you know, saying, hey, call Lytle home, I think it helps out folks. And it's not, we looking at those water rates, we're gonna be able to make up that difference. And it's just people who have homestead exemptions who occupy. HEB, they're not gonna get a 20% reduction. Any commercial property, they're not gonna get a 20% reduction. It's just people who call Lytle home. So I mean, looking out for our residents, I think, is what we're here for. I hope to try to make this city a better place. So that's all I really have as far as background information.
Would this be universal, automatic, or would people have to apply for this?
No, it would go in, the deadline was July 1st. Of course, we didn't have our meeting at the end of June, so it would not go into effect until next year. And that would give us a little more time as far as adjustment. It's not gonna affect our budget this year. But even then, looking at, I don't know, what are we looking at, Matt, as far as our rate? 15-cent increase?
I don't want to pretend to know, you know, once we get certified values in and talking to Brandy and them over at the appraisal district. Once we can get those in, they'll start on that tax calculation worksheet. That's a lot of numbers plugging in.
Yeah, I briefly I spoke to Brandy, and I spoke to Johnette, and I think total, I did not speak to Bear County, I can't imagine that we added too much
No,
to Bear County. But I think we're looking at 250 million on the tax roll. I mean, once all these new homes come in and out of Scotia, we're looking at $400 million in additional tax value. So I know looking at some people living out there now, it's not people who are living in the homes or renting the homes out. So I mean, someone like that, they're not gonna get that break. It's just people with the homestead.
My question is this, I wasn't aware of the over 65 reduction.
Yeah, yours is automatically on there.
Well, but I wasn't getting it, and I had to go down to the county offices and say, hey, I'm over 65, what do I have to do? And I remember if they said I had to apply, or oops, I fell through the cracks, but they did give me retro pay, the city gave me a retro break on that, and I got a couple of checks. So I just wondered if we enact this, does it automatically apply to everyone, or do we have to educate the citizens who are applicable to apply for the reduction, you know?
I do not know, maybe Jesse knows.
They typically have to apply, and it's pretty simple. It's usually a one-page form.
Also, I'm sorry, also for school taxes, to get your school amount down, if you're over 65, you're supposed to go over there and register and make sure that they know that too. Otherwise, they don't give you check squat, because they went back up on mine, even though mine was down to 300.
I went to the county when I turned 65, and they reduced my taxes.
Yeah.
I haven't gone to the city.
Yeah.
Well, that's just my point. I didn't know if it was automatic. If it's not automatic, then we really need to take some measures, and we can work on that down the road.
We can work on education.
People.
I mean, I think that what the recommendation was like, hey, look, the Chamber of Commerce, they're advertising for the city, like, hey, come out here, buy a home, move to Lidle, and we put that on the website, we put that, we go that route, we say, hey, we're gonna offer this reduction to people that we do, talk to your constituents and let them know, put it out in, the quarterly thing, the mayor can say, hey, let's
It's only quite a real.
But of course, it's gonna be next year, and who knows what the appraisal districts are gonna do next year. I mean, until they say, well, look, we're gonna adjust the market value. I find it very hard to believe that they're gonna come back down. They say the bottom falls out of the real estate market. They're not gonna be like, oh yeah, your home's only $200,000 now, or $100,000. Like, they're gonna leave it as is.
So Charles, do you want to table this until we get a few months down the road and we figure out our fees and everything and do all that calculation? Or are you looking at putting it where we're shooting for the next year, for the following year, I should say?
I think, going back to my point about enticing people to move out here and buy a home with Saddle Ridge, with Rosewood, I think that the sooner that we can put this in place, the sooner we can get it out there and say, hey, come make Lidle your home, because we're gonna take care of you. I think if we wait, people might move to Castle, they might move somewhere else. I mean, hey, look, they have this exemption. We don't, sort of deal. It's like, they might buy a home elsewhere. We're trying to sell homes. So
This would take effect, if the council takes action on this, it will be effective.
it will be next year, so it'll be, well, I guess the tax bills come out, October? So it would be October 2023 that you're gonna see that reduction. So it's still, 15 months out.
Yeah, I've been asked by several people if we pass that and say, I said, we can put the other meetings.
And I know it's in the TML newsletter all the time, and that's where it came up, is like Marble Falls, like all these communities they're setting it at 20%. And the thing is, we can go back and say, hey, well, we can adjust that. I mean, it has to be at least 5,000, but say, hey, 20% is too high, we can trim it back, say 15. It's up to 20%. It can be lower, but it has to be 5. So I guess, I don't know if there's a timeline, it's like, hey, we pass just an ordinance amending that. They say we adopt 20% now, yet next year we come back and find out, well,
it has to just be done, the tax code just requires it to be done by July 1st of that tax year. So if you passed it in late June, then it would apply to 2022. That's before the appraisal district, as the assessor establishes the values for all the homes for the tax bills to go out. So you're probably passed for 2022, is the time to put it out, so this would, you could approve it today, and then it would apply as is. If you didn't make any changes, it would kick in for 2023.
And the city, as you point on that, is ordinance to get that top number of 20% if they wanted to change it.
You can amend it later, as the
Yeah.
councilman said.
So I think this is a
Sunset
good
stuff.
start, and if need to, I'd like to make a motion on adopting an ordinance, instituting a homestead exemption on taxation for all residents of the city of Lidle in the amount of 20% to the appraisal value of their home property, but not less than 5,000 as provided by the Texas tax code.
I'll second.
Wait a second. Okay, discussion point, does it matter whether it says up to 20% or just 20%? Does that give us a flexibility in the future?
It would be 20%. It's what the code allows. You could adjust it if you want to make it less than 20%.
Yeah, but what I'm saying for extra work, so say if the wording was up to 20%, and we keep it that way, it's okay, but if for some reason in the later point, we say it's actually better to go ahead and, does that give you the flexibility, or is it better just to go ahead and
I
say
think I would
set amount?
state the value, because
Okay.
up to 20% would probably mean it would only be 20%. And at least 5,000 is your valuation, so whichever is probably more.
Thank you.
But I would, it's probably better to have clarity.
Want to do that? Okay, any other further discussion?
I think if we could pass this today, I think that would be good. That would allow the city to take a look and see what kind of impact this would have. And if
We can-
need be, we could adjust that 20%.
Yeah,
But
we
I
would.
mean, like Charles is saying, if it's out there for the citizens, we wouldn't be servicing the citizens if we didn't allow that.
We could really look at what, if this would have passed in time, what the effect would have been on our budget.
Exactly.
Really look at numbers and say, hey, this is how big or little that really was. I would say with everything going on this year, I was a little concerned about maybe this year. But I think years past or years going forward, I think we're gonna be okay on vacation. We'll have the homes in and on the tax plan.
We have the advantage of looking at today's numbers.
Exactly, we'll know.
I was just gonna say, I think it's just, it's a selling point too for Lyle. And that it's gonna make it a more attractive place. If people take a look at it, but the numbers I was running, it's like even a marginal increase, say we factor in 20%, that we're still gonna be paying more in taxes with increasing the rate. Like, you're gonna have a reduction, but is it a break? No. I mean, it just kind of, it's alleviating some of the financial burden. Yeah, so it's like, hey, we're all gonna be paying more taxes. Our water bills are probably gonna be a little higher, and that's just the cost of growth and providing these services, but it's also going to, like I said, show people, look, we're not just taxing you to the hilt as much as we can, we're gonna make it a little bit better, not as painful. We're gonna punch you in one eye, not both eyes.
Any other further discussion?
Charles, thank you for digging into this. Good job.
Bueno. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you so much, appreciate that. Thanks again, Charles. Okay, consider and act upon preliminary plat for Saddle Ridge Estates 2 and 5.
So council, we attempted to put this before planning and zoning, last week, but unfortunately when they showed up, they did not have a quorum. So officially, I'm gonna tell you, this has not been seen by planning and zoning or reviewed or approved. But it is just the preliminary plat, that's why I went ahead and brought it before council. The final plating is still underway, and you can see from our letter from TRC, our engineers, they said from all of their review, it meets all of our standards for preliminary plating. So if the council did approve this, it doesn't really change anything, because it still has to go to final plating anyways. And we'll make sure that final plating goes to PNC.
So we can do it as a conditional approval based on any.
you could approve this as council, they've done it before where they bypassed P and Z or P and Z didn't meet, council could approve this, because ultimately it's the council's decision anyways, P and Z just gives a recommendation. But we did attempt to take it before P and Z.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve preliminary plat for Saddle Ridge Estates, phase 2 and 5.
Got a motion on the floor? I think Sam put his hand, Sam, you got a second?
Yeah, I'll throw it.
Okay, any further discussion on that? All those in favor? Any opposed? All right. Okay. And consider and act upon a change order for Lytle Farms Unit 1 construction plans, final plat review and engineering services.
So just like we did earlier, TRC sets a rate on what they believe it's gonna cost to review that kind of documentation. It's taken a little longer on this one, so they've exhausted their initial amount. So they're asking for a change order for an amount up to $6,000, bringing the total project cost at $12,464. Again, that's something that council approves, pays for initially. We recoup that entire cost, whatever it is, was paid upon releasing the final plat to that developer. So they can't do anything until we release it and we recoup our money. So it's just kind of a wash. Be my recommendation, we approve and let them keep going.
I move that we approve the change order.
A motion on the floor? I'll second that. Okay, got a second? Any further discussion?
You had mentioned that Vital Farms approved it. Or-
Yes, Lytle Farms is aware of it, yes, sir.
Any other further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, continuing on, and consider and act upon hiring Ashley Sanders as a part-time court clerk and part-time utility billing clerk.
Okay, council, this is the fill position. It was a full-time utility billing clerk is what the city was short on that position. But in talking to Lynette and utility billing and municipal court, we felt, it was capable of taking that utility billing clerk and splitting their time between, municipal court and utility, and that's a flex position. They kind of move back and forth where the work is needed at that moment. Currently, it's in municipal court, but at some point, if that gets caught up or whatever, maybe it flexes back and forth. The goal would be a couple, 2-3 days municipal court, a couple days in utility billing, and this is kind of a all-together person that helps us in the city. As you know, we had the full-time utility billing, council said go out and hire a part-time court clerk. We're trying to keep it still to one full-time person. So Ashley's been working with us for a couple months now, I guess, or a month, maybe a month on this kind of contract to get in here and help us out. Been doing a great job, so it would be our recommendation that we hire her. We split her cost between municipal court and utility billing at a rate of $15 per hour with benefits.
Let me ask you a question, Matt, just to refresh my memory. Supervision of those two positions, both of those under Lynette?
Yes.
All right, so it would be splitting supervisor.
Keep them all in one supervisor.
$15 an hour, and then,
After probation, typical was $1, is what we've done in the past. We'll see when we get to the probationary part at that point.
And part-time employees get full benefits?
No, we're splitting their cost, how the city, they'd be full-time.
But there was a deal with benefits, wasn't there? $15 with benefits?
Well, yeah, that's a different position, but if you work part-time for us and you're working more than 20 hours a week, 2,000 hours a year, then you're required to put into the pension.
Okay, so the 20, okay.
Yeah, this is a full-time position, we're just splitting the cost how the city pays between those two departments.
Yeah, I was wondering where the benefits part came out, that you're talking about. Okay. Thank you.
So should we get paid benefits also?
Yes, to be a full-time employee with the city. The split is just us telling you how we're gonna pay her internally, how that works financially. This is a full-time position.
I move that we hire Ashley for these two part-time positions, making her a full-time employee of the city.
got a motion on the floor for us to hire Ashley?
I'll second that.
Got a second? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
We'll be sending her off to municipal court school from the end of this month already.
And by the way, she's a veteran.
Okay.
She's a veteran.
Okay, going on. Oh, consider and act upon having twice a month council approval for accounts payable.
So, Lynette was she'd be here tonight, but unfortunately she had to go home. We've seen the need to be able to put on every council meeting accounts payable for the city. We've had, typically it's first meeting of the month like this, second meeting is just, we just move on with business. We need to be able to pay bills at both meetings, to where we can bring forth the bills that need to be paid to the city. We're finding that we're paying, late charges, because we don't get the approval. A bill comes in a day or two after this council meeting, and we have to hold that bill to the complete next month to get approval to pay it. We're saying every 2 weeks, let's bring the bills to the city council and get approval to pay it. So
How much are we paying in late fees?
that'd be a Lynette question. I don't know that off the top of my head, but I know that we've had several. There's several where every month it's a late fee. We've been catching a lot of stuff up over the last month and a half.
We would just continue to do the same thing, just get the information out to you for your review. So
Be a
let's
quick
get that
process.
and make it a lot quicker.
And the amount of bills on that first meeting would be about half, because we get the other half done.
So I move that we have twice a month council approval of accounts payable.
A motion for us to go ahead and do it twice a month.
I'll second that.
Second. Any further discussion?
So when I was running for this position, it started out with one meeting a month and then a carryover meeting. And then I was reading our bylaws, and I realized that we actually do have 2 meetings a month and then there's stuff. So as long as we have those two, I don't see a problem. So I would approve this as well.
Well, that begs the question, if we don't have our second meeting in a month, what do we do about this?
We'll cross that bridge when we get there, but I don't think that's, from what I've seen the last couple of years, we're not gonna have that problem moving forward.
Our city's getting busier and busier. There's always something that needs to get in front of the
Just
council.
what if?
Yeah, yes, sir. We'll address that when we do, if we see the need then.
You call a meeting just for that, right?
Maybe so.
That's a meeting.
Just to pay bills.
Yes, sir.
That's it. All right. Any further discussion?
I mean, if it comes to that, is there a way that we can say, well, look, pay this, we approve this payment of this bill without having that a meeting? I mean, it's like, hey, why get hit with a late charge? I guess,
You could, sometimes direct staff if it's quite clear, usually the mayor or somebody, the council would go ahead and direct staff to go ahead and pay it, and then they would ratify the payment at the next meeting. They could do it like that, so it'll work around.
I mean, normal bill, normal.
But sure.
We've done that in the past, throughout years, in the sense that if it was something that we needed to get paid, we paid it. If it was an emergency or something, they would take care of that. So, okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? All right. Awesome. Okay, let's go ahead and take care of one more, then we'll take a break. P, consider and act upon customer service agreement with UniFirst.
So this came about, Public Works came to me and said they wanted to switch uniform shirts. The one they're wearing is just too hot, it's too thick. Not to mention, it doesn't have any kind of safety reflective striping on it, so when they're working next to the road or at night. They went to our current company, UniFirst, and asked for samples. We got those. There was a slight increase to the shirt they wanted to go to, but talking with UniFirst, they said they would honor the exact same pricing if initially they wanted a 5-year contract with no cost to get out. I don't know what's gonna happen with us. Went back to the table. We now have a 3-year contract that they want to get approved with us, but it has a yearly option with 30-day notice for us to say, thank you, have a good day, we want out. This is a company that we've been with as long as James or I have been here. At this point, I don't see any reason, with everything else going on, I don't see any reason to change. Again, legals had this, I just didn't want us to enter into a contract that yearly we couldn't say, thank you, have a good day, we want out. And we have that option there. No budget impact, it's just a wash the hurricane.
That'd be a lot better, like it was mentioned, a lot better material for them.
We're looking at a gray shirt with some reflective striping on it. It's a lighter material, so it breathes more.
Okay, a motion, let's go ahead and have a service agreement with Union first. I'll second that. Second. Any further discussion?
I was just thinking about these shirts, and I know this is kind of off topic, James, but what's the work rest cycle right now for your guys out there digging the ditches, as far as with the heat and everything? I was outside this afternoon before I came over here, and I swear I was gonna black out, so I'm just thinking, not that we're gonna do anything, it's like, hey, is this really gonna keep y'all cool out there, or y'all just fine?
It will be cooler than what they have. Is it gonna be cool enough for everything? No, there's nothing out there. I'm gonna work with James I can tell you at the firehouse, we have got some, what they call it, liquid IV, things like that you can put in your drinks, it helps that. We've got, push-up pops, for lack of a better term, that is designed to help keep you hydrated. Those are things I worked with James, we're gonna hopefully get some of those, I can throw them in the freezer. When they head out for the day, throw them in their ice chest cooler, and just as they're working, and they need to take breaks as needed.
We have
some of those.
thinking about trying to keep you guys cool out there, we're outside right now, 'cause, heat stroke's a real deal, and I don't know if we can get anything else right now to get through the summer.
We can get those cooling bands that can reach down in the, and then of course, at any time they need a break, they just, hey, I need a break, and go sit and take a break in the truck or air conditioning or whatever. But James monitors them, and these guys have been working hard, I give you that.
Who monitors James?
Nobody, James monitors James.
Who's gonna make James tap out?
I don't know if anybody can make
Hey,
James.
he was eyeballing the Lidl Kitty Park, kitty splash pad out of the well today. We had some water out there that we had to flush out before we cranked it over. And, actually he showed up without the shirt on there for quite a bit. Well, he had a t-shirt on.
He had a t-shirt on. I didn't have a shower.
Jason's getting
Ready to take a dip?
Ready to take a dip, yeah. So, it was pretty entertaining, but, definitely. All right, any other discussion on that? Okay. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you so much. Before we go on break, we're gonna do something really quick.
Thank you all.
It's all good, James. Definitely something we gotta do. All right, there you go. I need your help. And take one to Santi and take that one to Cassandra.
Oh.
There we go.
I'm sorry, I guess I could have helped, just sit down and scrolling through over here.
Yeah, you're supposed to go.
I know, I'm supposed to be like.
Oh, they're right here.
Got hit somebody.
This one for Sam. Okay, so
That's
last,
too bad.
we're gonna start doing a little bit, nothing better than getting a zebra cake for a birthday. So we actually had in June, we had Santi, we had Sam closing out, and now we got Joseph here on the 7th, and then Cassandra in a few weeks before our next meeting. So before we go on break, how about everybody sing a little happy birthday to our folks? Here we go, 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you.
Cha cha cha.
Happy birthday to you.
Cha cha cha. Happy birthday, dear Joseph, Cassandra, and Santi. Happy birthday to you. Make a wish, here we go. All right, so let's go ahead and show 7:57. Let's go ahead and take a 15-minute break. Take a 15-minute break.
Another place here, I'm over on this side. It's not really transit, and it's pretty easy. So I'm like,
Well, you raise a good point, though. You know, since I got on the council, really a lot of stuff, they recommend having a filter around the city. You know, so you prevent that sprawl that occurs, you know.
Hey, Skip, you guys got that,
Yeah.
all that brush going into the line?
I know that,
You guys got that?
You're
We're the kind of water system.
He didn't like it.
you know who bought that place?
Which one called me?
Where's it at?
It's, someone moved it.
Right.
Okay, this morning.
Yeah, me too. And I was gonna be able to, but I got this. It's tomorrow, yeah, if you'll have to.
Well, I don't know, they're real big in,
Sounds
Take
good.
it, take it to the,
So, yeah.
the whole outfit?
Yeah.
Okay. We can do that. If I don't get it done by 10 o'clock, so give me a call.
Okay.
At the library, somebody called it was.
Was it, did we call the,
Yeah, I called,
AC guy?
we don't.
Something's going on.
Yeah,
The
because
two-
it was kind of fixed, and you know, they fixed the doors, it was like 81 degrees on one
But you can feel it, I mean, like,
You can feel it's 10
it's
degrees.
weird. For the one good AC is running good, yeah, and the air fixes, it's just
Back here is not
weird.
We put that, oil and working on that, but it's still huge.
I don't care.
Yeah, let's talk to him and see what
Yeah,
we
he
can
said
do.
he might as well.
Well, I know, yeah, he's doing a big AC job for the city.
Yeah, I know, he's busy, so I said, well, sometimes we.
Yeah, and like I said, it may be something where we tint the front windows to help keep that heat out, and then eventually replace them with double pane.
Yeah.
Versus, it's too much heat.
Next agenda item, we're talking about utility rates.
That's what I'm.
This is the first one that they dropped. They put a table on right in there. This was the first drop.
There is.
Yeah, that was after, so that was, yes, yes, yeah, but the first time that they went and put it out, which was, this is how, that's how it looks. And then they came back and drew. Second class for the folks over there, and they're right down there, and I love, you can tell that it got this was the first time.
Yeah, and I haven't seen
All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So let's go ahead and show 8:16. Let's go ahead and jump right back in. So get into item Q. Consider and act upon the adoption of new utility rates and timeline.
So council, I brought this forward, I'm not looking at adopting new utility rates tonight, but what I'm looking at is the authority to work with council to set what that timeline should be, when we need to do public hearing, all that, so that way we can start the process is what I'm looking for tonight.
When you gonna do that, so I can come back?
Well, I know that, I don't know the exact date, I know it was earlier, it's either earlier this year or last year, and that council had directed Ms. Compa to go out and get a new rate study done for our utility rates, so that we can set something that, because if we just toss numbers out there and say, well, it needs to be whatever, $50, that's a disservice to everybody on our water system. We need something that, that also is gonna be phased in. I think you and I talked about this,
Yeah.
Matt, that we can't just say, well, we need to be here, but we need to incrementally
Move it there.
do, if we need to get there, let's get there in 5 years or something like that.
When I'm gone.
And I think that would be what I've seen in researching this, what other councils have done is they passed they passed an ordinance that is amending or correcting the utility rate, they're setting them, but it's for the next 5 years, and it says that this rate goes here, this year goes here, this year, bringing them up to where they need to be, so again, like, we're not punching them in both eyes at the same time.
And also another, during the break, was having a discussion about folks living on fixed incomes, and that those who are gonna be adversely impacted by that, you know, is there a way that we can implement, I don't know if you call it a waiver, or, you know, a way that people can put in an application? I live on a fixed income, it's not going up, right? Retirees in our community, they're set in what they're budgeting. Is there a way for folks over 65 or people with disabilities to pay a lesser rate without, you know, overburdening them? I mean, somebody who's still working, hopefully I'm still working for another 30 years. I don't want to be, but hopefully I still can, you know. The folks who are on Social Security or they're living on a retirement, I just feel like at the same time, yeah, we need to get there. We also got to think about folks who they can't afford, you know, we have some low rates, sure, but at the same time, some of those folks, they can't handle it.
I don't disagree, that's a decision for council to do as a whole. If there's something legally we can put when we pass utility rates.
I'll just mention a couple of things. That often cities have to establish the tap fees for the initial connection to the service. Those could vary. Often they can be waivers for certain groups. That's often, some cities do that. And there's also often a difference between their commercial rates, right, for like commercial type rates versus just residential type rates. And then they also vary based on volumes, right? So the same rate doesn't apply. A very small user might get a very much lower rate than say a high volume user, which obviously puts more demand on the system, and they might charge a higher rate once they get kind of a stair step type approach. So that is usually determined by the rate study. The purpose of the rate is to ensure that the fund is properly funded, so it can cover ongoing and planned capital improvements over time, and it is often phased in. The other thing that cities often will do is also have standard service and policy structures. So I don't know if you have one yet, but it's very standard policies for service and requirements. For example, if a property owner wants to have utility service, then they may need to provide an easement to the city, for example. Those kinds of things. And so you're not going to give the city an easement to go and extend the lateral over to your area of property, so they can serve, then the city's not going to pay you to extend the easement to part of that easement. So there are things like that, all kinds of policies. And again, those, we have folks that prepare a number of those, and those can be prepared. Those are all things that the council, if you're wanting the staff and us to assist them, take that on and get to them. But the rate study is typically the start of that process, is to determine the rate so that the fund is properly funded. And of course, they'll evaluate what the total consumption is, what the projected water demand will be in the city, and then begin structuring the rates to properly fund that utility system to cover that.
We'll take a look at everything. As you know, some of us have been here for a while. We did have a rate study before, and we were told back then that we were way below where we needed to be. It was a council decision back then, kind of work on other areas, and I think that's basically what the council's gonna get a chance. But what we're doing tonight is basically giving the authorization for them to go ahead and proceed with trying to look at things, where they go ahead and put the whole thing together and then come back to us at a later point. So,
So you said there was this rate study done, how long ago was
it's been a few years.
It's been a while. I remember sitting here at council and them talking about how low we were, and we would almost have to double our rates, if I remember straight, to get to where we needed to be, and that was a few years ago. Obviously, yeah, obviously we can't take.
So do we need to do another rate study before we proceed?
I think it'd probably be good to go back and talk to our TRC, another part of this, and ask them based on where we're at and what we're looking at, to try to figure out what the next thing is. But we need to authorize him and
To start the process
to pursue it,
and create a timeline.
try to figure out what we need to do. Yes, sir.
Mayor, I move that council direct the city administrator to go out for a new utility rate study and report back to council with his findings so we can establish a timeline on implementing these new rates in the future.
Okay, got a motion on the floor?
Second that.
Okay, got a second? All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Appreciate that. Matt, there you go.
Good.
Be able to go and take care of that portion of it, so. All right. Pause?
Yep.
I'll let you finish.
I'm
Go ahead.
leaving, that's why I just wanted to.
Go ahead, finish.
That's my email, Charles.K.
Yeah, Charles.Cave@VitalTX.
Are you candidates? I'm sorry, y'all. I'm getting ready to leave, that's the reason why.
Kids.org.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I don't want the paper.
Yeah, I don't want it either.
Thank y'all, I'm sorry to bother you. God
Ain't no
bless.
bother. Have a great evening, man.
At least I showed up this.
Have a great evening.
I'll send you all.
All right, here we go. Continuing on with R, consider and act upon an ordinance number 2202, amending ordinance number 98-104, city secretary powers and duties in section 2-127 of the city of Lytle Code of Ordinance, incorporating recitals, providing repeater, providing severability, and setting an effective date.
So these are the ordinances, drawn up by legal, amending and adopting these job descriptions that we've worked on for, this one for the city secretary.
Are there any notable changes here, Matt, that you can call?
No, so the one thing, like on the city secretary, we had the utility billing listed under her as well as the finance director, where we moved utility billing to. So we took utility billing out of the city secretary. She's got that, and then, of course, she's got the tax and permit clerk, of course, as we go along. And then it's a lot of the same stuff we had, where we're taking some of the duties away and reassigning those because there were so many duties already in there with all of our different commissions and being the one tasked, our city secretary is the one tasked with keeping all these records for us. And it's hard for her to be able to keep those records and stay up to date with agendas and minutes for not only the city council meeting, but any planning and zoning, keep Lytle Beautiful Commission, those things. So we're trying to reorganize and shift some of those duties to different people. That way the city secretary can effectively get stuff done that she needs to get done.
But it contains all of the duties and responsibilities outlined in state code, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Nothing, no real big changes from the last time we've worked on anything, it's just minor stuff.
And, our legal.
Yes, legal has reviewed these and been through them, and the ordinance is attached, we can get signature collected from here.
Thanks, Jason.
I move that we approve this ordinance amending the city secretary powers and duties as outlined in the agenda.
A motion on the floor?
Second that.
Got a second? Any further discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Sorry, I didn't say anything.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry. Okay, thank you so much.
That's all good. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Consider and act upon ordinance number 22-03, amending the city administrator's power and duties and related city ordinances incorporating recitals, providing repealer, providing severability and setting an effective date.
Again, same thing, this is just the official ordinance amending the previous ordinance setting up job descriptions. And of course, the job description is attached by the reason.
Again, I'd ask any notable changes here from before?
Yes, sir.
Tweaks?
Yeah, just some minor tweaking, nothing notable whatsoever. It puts the code compliance in city parks under the city administrator, and of course, give some direction on like briefing, like these sheets. You know, my job to get all this together and coordinate it and work with Paul to create it and provide this briefing sheet.
See on that, job description under travel, just the title of the city secretary. I guess we just need to read city administrator.
Oh, yes, sir, yes, sir.
I move that we accept this ordinance amending city administrator's powers and duties and related city ordinances. Considering the one correction that was noted there, from city secretary to city administrator under the travel area.
Motion on the floor? Okay, got a second? Any further discussion?
Yeah, and just to clarify, we didn't implement your ability to hire and fire people.
None of that,
You know, in the department.
none of that.
If we want to do that, Jesse, we're gonna have to go back and amend that.
That'll be council's discretion to do so.
I think we talked about at least until, past the initial probationary period,
Yeah, we
will consider that.
Yeah, I've heard between the 4 and 6 month mark is adjusting how everything falls from there permanently.
Any other further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you so much, appreciate that. To consider and act upon ordinance number 22-04, amending the finance director's powers and duties and related ordinance incorporating recitals, providing a repealing, providing severability, and setting an effective date.
Same thing, this is for the finance director, I guess I put myself on hers under travel. Got her, so there you go. So I'm gonna make that correction, say finance director under travel section. But again, it's the same thing, but everything in order.
Of course, the ordinance, the way it's established is based on the job description, right? So if we make changes to the job description, it pretty much ties in.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Okay. All right.
Well, since I've done that twice, I'll do it again. I move that we, pass the ordinance amending the finance director's powers and duties related to the ordinances incorporating recitals, providing repealer, providing for severability, setting effective date as presented, with the one major change under the travel area.
Got a motion on the floor?
Second.
Got a second? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, going into you, we jump into executive session. Discussion of possible action on preparations to recognize former city secretary.
So what I'm looking for, council, is what do we want to do to recognize the previous city? How do we want to do that? What is everybody's thoughts? A plaque, big fireworks, I don't know. I'm looking for direction on how we want to move forward and how y'all want us to proceed. If any, I don't know. So that's fine.
I recommend that we get our plaques and recognize it for all the services she did for the city for 40 something years.
Get her plaque and then bring it before council, on council.
I don't know what y'all feel about it.
I mean, have you spoken to her? Does she want anything? Does she want a party or a celebration or something?
I have not, I texted and called a few times, it's kind of hit and miss at times, with getting a hold of her. So, all of my conversations with her have been 100% cordial, in line with the way you and I are talking every day, so.
I mean, I also feel like it's appropriate to allow members of the community, it's like, come by, it's like, hey, we had something at the community center, maybe not necessarily at a council meeting, because we're trying to conduct business, but set aside 2 hours or something at the community center where they're having cake or, refreshment sort of deal, I think would be appropriate. And if she wants to do that day, if she doesn't,
Yeah.
then by all means, let's not force her to do anything. But giving citizens opportunity to come by and say their goodbyes is a nice gesture for them.
Got two ideas? Council? All the good ideas, we gotta see if she's wanting to do it.
So if council wants, I can reach out to her and ask her of those two options, which she prefers, if she prefers any. If y'all want to do that, then I can move forward with either of those two options if she chooses, if y'all wish, or however y'all want to move.
I think she, in my opinion, I think you'd have to consider it. She wants to have something.
And if she wants to have something, is council okay with us
Yeah.
coordinating that, and putting it together? Is that what we're?
I would think you need to bring it back to council.
Okay.
So you wanna just table this?
Yeah.
Table it until next month?
You talk to her first?
Sure. Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to table it till we find out.
Okay. Got a motion for us to go ahead and table it?
I'll go in a second.
A second, any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, thank you so much. Appreciate that. All right, here we go. Number 7, executive session. The city council of the city of Idle may convene an executive session in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, section 551.071, 1A and 2, consultants with attorney, and section 551.072, deliberations about real property. So, one we have for executive session is a proposed off-site drainage easement on city-owned property for Saddle Ridge subdivision. I'll let you can actually show us going into executive session at 8:36. Council, if we can go ahead and legal, we can go ahead and go into the back room. Appreciate that. Okay, I'll let people actually show us back at 8:59. No action taken. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to item number 8, discuss and consider appropriate action resulting from executive session.
Mayor, I move that we direct the city administrator to contact TRC to discuss options of modifying offsite drainage easement on city-owned property for salary subdivision.
Okay, a motion on the floor?
Second.
Yeah, a second. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, there you go, Matt. Appreciate it. Thank you, Jesse. Appreciate that. All right, so 9 announcements from city council and city staff. Anything that anybody wants to go ahead and pass on to or among ourselves, whether it's from the city staff or the council members? I do have some stuff I do want to pass. Yes.
I was gonna tell you, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make the meeting on Wednesday because we have that truck there, that science trailer. And it's
13.
not, yeah, it's not gonna leave till after 2.
Can you tell the council what that
Oh,
event is all about?
So,
No,
I
I'll talk
applied
about it.
for a grant and we had gotten this before back in 2017 and it's called TAME, Texas Alliance for Migrant Engineering, I believe, or no, not migrant, I'm sorry, minorities in engineering. And it's geared for grades 3 to 8 and it's free. So it's going to be open up to the public and they can come out and go through the trailer. It's a 40-foot trailer and it's aerodynamics, space, engineering, weather, and one more, I can't remember the other one. But the kids can go in there, it's like a hands-on museum. And it's from 10 to just after 2, so I don't know if I'll be able to make the meeting if I can. So they're gonna park the truck there tomorrow night after they get it out of Jersey. And then, it'll be there for Wednesday. So everybody's invited to come in and go to the museum. It's like a little museum, basically.
Can you send the email out to the
Sure.
council?
I'll send
That'd
them,
be
and they are gonna require masks to go in there because it is such a confined
Fine
space.
space.
So that's what they're telling me.
Awesome. That's good. Okay. Anything else? Sante, super skip? Nothing? Council? All right, so a few things I do want to go ahead and pass on. First of all, 4th of July celebration that we had. Just want to thank Wayne, Public Works, PD, City Hall employees, Fire Department for a great job being able to put all this together. It worked out really good. Got a lot of positive feedback, both from people that were inside the park and people that were outside the park. I think we had more people outside the park. We would just park in both sides of the railroad, actually watching the fireworks. Gotten some comments that said some of the people that went to Castroville on here, they really enjoyed ours a lot better. So that was really good, but it was just because of all the hard work that it put on to be able to take care of that. So some of the hard work, besides the folks that I mentioned, the Chamber of Commerce, home run with the food trucks, I think that worked out really good. So big plans for the future, being able to do that. Also working with the VFW and taking care of some of the things that were happening in the park, so that worked out really good. But I do want to say special thanks to Matt. I really appreciate you stepping up, and putting everything together and kind of tying the knot on everything. And I think that's one of the reasons why we had such a great success.
As a group effort.
So it was really good. I do want to thank Public Works, especially if you have not gone out to the park, go out there. Remember the tree trimming and everything else going on. Those guys have been out there working really hard to get that park ready for our celebration, and they did a great job. It looks really good and stuff. And they got some other ideas and things to do out there, so we really appreciate that. Please pass that to the crew, James. I'll be able to do all that. Well, update, I sent out, the information, but James actually went ahead and put it on auto. And James, it was running, right? How much are we pumping now?
Between 1,500 and 1,600 gallons a minute.
You had gone how many feet within a few hours?
No, we did 4 feet. We filled it 4 feet in both those tanks in, I think, about 3.5 hours.
It's unbelievable. Right now it's set up so it actually, it's reading the pressure off of the tanks and it's talking to well number 4. So it's literally doing everything automatically. So we still need to go ahead and wait for some additional equipment, take down well number 2, which is going to happen after a whole week. We're going to run well number 4 for a whole week. Let it cycle, turn on, turn off, make sure everything is going good. And after that, we're going to shut it down, do some maintenance on it, and then we'll bring it up and put the telemetry so we can off cycle between well number 2 and number 4. We want to leave it stagnant, but we don't want to overwork it anymore since well number 4 will be able to provide all that. So there's still more work to be done. But at least right now, we got 2 wells that are working really good, and the well that we have right now is pushing some good water. So it's been really good to try to do that. So congrats to James, Reese, and Matt too with all the involvement and taking care of all that. It worked out really good. TxDOT, we met with TxDOT here recently. Got an update of all the projects that we have on there. We still have a lot of things moving along. Some of them were mentioned with the certificates of obligation, but some of them are off to the side. I do want the council to be aware and pass it on to all of our citizens. Starting in the August timeframe, we're still waiting to find out, but in August timeframe, we're probably going to go to one-way on the frontage roads. That's going to be very significant. So please pass the word around. Of course, school starting right around the corner with that too on the 11th. So, it's going to change. It's going to change some things that are going to happen in there. So please plan appropriately with that, and we'll keep you posted on some of the other projects that are going to happen around the city as they come up, especially with some of the funding that is coming up. Work on our streets, actually, we found out today there's going to be a delay. Matt, you want to cover that?
So they were hoping to start either this week or next week, but due to COVID, unfortunately, they're going to have to wait until probably the last week of this month to get started. And you get their crews back healthy, and it's kind of hard to go find a good group of guys that can pay for you just off the wall. So they're going to try to get us rescheduled for around the 25th and get back out here and get going.
So I asked for you, I gave you a copy of this, so you have the streets. Please make sure you pass the word around and let people know different streets that are being worked on. Have an idea. The one street that is not on there, that is Medina County is going to do, not next week. Yeah, next week is when they're planning next week. Is County Road 681. That's one that is right between the high school. It's a road like if you're going to the baseball fields. So they're going to do it all the way to the end. So it's going to be very busy, but school is going to be shut down. It's just going to be a little bit inconvenient with the folks in that area, but it's going to be taken care of. I'm hoping to get it all done within 2 days.
We'll be happy done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it needs a lot of work, and it's been that way too, and especially right around the creek area too. So, and kudos to Medina County to stepping up. Commissioner Sitter bringing his crew, even though that area is technically south of where he's responsible, so that worked out really good, him helping us out. And we're asking them to help us out in other areas too. So stay tuned on that one. Just like mentioned about the effects it's having on our streets across the city, every one of us in here probably has heard of different folks with COVID. It is a little bit faster. I talked to Dr. Neal, been talking to him since last week. He was traveling, and he's telling me, yep, the uptick is there and things is going on. So please, follow the normal protocols that we've had. Make sure that we kind of take care of each other and stuff with this to try to get over the hump and stuff. But it is on the uptick right now. I'm trying to take care of, and the staff is doing as best as they can to kind of minimize things on there. Special thanks to City Hall for a lot of things happening inside this building. Some significant changes in trying to get ourselves all organized. So many thanks to everybody trying to do that, leading the effort, taking care of all that. To Paula and Lynette for stepping up and taking care of a lot of binding things up and making phone calls and figuring out things on the fly to make sure that we kind of took care of things. But thank you for taking care of that and making sure, especially for Paola, she's been juggling multiple jobs between the city secretary and trying to take care of the tax and permit. She already got applications, so hopefully in the near future, she'll be coming back to us and asking us for us to hire. But she's been multitasking just like Matt and everybody else here in City Hall too, but thank you, appreciate that. Special thanks to our PD for taking care of us. I know that Richie is not here. We've had a lot of unique situations. Some of you guys got some information of both inside and outside the city limits, so they're working really hard. And this is nothing to do with the growth, it's just things that are happening around our community. We're closely monitoring some of those things. And some of it is related to the border, and things that are coming over there, so our PDs have actually been more assisting in trying to help out with that. But we're gonna continue to monitor that and come back to you if we need to do anything. Congrats to the girls softball team for district, the boys baseball team winning district, the Little League for the second year in a row. I also found out that our Lido Pirates, it's kind of like junior and high school student boys. Summer League, they actually won at Pearsall too, so they got recognized. So different age groups, different groups, doing really good in the sense of representing Lido and what they're doing for our area. And lastly, just wanted to go ahead and, for Charles, hey, best wishes, Charles, in the sense of your deployment coming up. Thank you for serving our nation and helping out with a critical job. You're gonna be out there doing ramp coal services, is that the assumption, or?
A little bit of everything there. You gotta do it all. Small port, and we got a good team, so I think it's gonna be good.
So it's gonna be a lot of taking care of aircraft offloading, unloading and stuff like that. You see them out there driving the K loaders?
Everything.
Yep.
Yeah, got it on my license. Hopefully they don't make me, but. The rush shakes off pretty easy. Gotta show those airmen how to do it.
That's it. Be able to take care of it, be able to do all that. Please, we're looking forward, you're gonna be doing Zoom? That's what your plan is?
That's the plan.
Okay, so be able to do that, but please let us know if there's any way we can assist from this end and share your mail address once you get on site. You have an idea of where we can actually send some stuff to you, so we can have that. Anything else? Anything in mind? We took care of both budget workshops.
So the big key now is we need to wait till we get the certified values in and the tax calculation worksheets done, and then we can prepare that proposed budget, come to council, then we move into adopting tax rates and holding public hearings for that, and then a lot of moving parts there, holding public hearings.
Meetings right now.
Not that we currently have scheduled right now. Not at all. Anything else? Okay. Once again, thank you, great job getting all this stuff. It's 9:12 right now. Can I get a motion for us to go ahead and adjourn?
I move to adjourn there.
1 second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any nays? Appreciate it. Have a great evening. Thank you so much.